Co-op gaming has given us some of the most unforgettable experiences in gaming history. Titles like Portal 2, Overcooked, and of course It Takes Two have set the bar for what a truly engaging cooperative game can be. Now, Hazelight Studios, the minds behind It Takes Two, return with Split Fiction, a game that once again demands two players to work together in unique and inventive ways. But with such high expectations, the question remains: has Hazelight outdone itself? Or does Split Fiction struggle to step out of its predecessor's shadow? Before we start, I just want to give a quick thanks to EA for providing the game code that allowed me to create this video. In Split Fiction, players take control of two riders who find themselves trapped inside their own stories and ideas. One is devoted to sci-fi and the other to fantasy, two vastly different worlds that shape not only the game's narrative but also its gameplay and mechanics. This duality is an interesting concept, but it comes with a small caveat. Rather than blending these two genres into something new, each level is clearly themed around one or the other. A sci-fi stage will be fully sci-fi, while a fantasy level remains strictly roots in its magical setting. It's an engaging structure, but one that might have benefited from a more dynamic fusion of the two styles, at least that's my opinion. Still, the true magic of Split Fiction doesn't lie in its story, but in how it used the narrative to reinforce co-op gameplay. Hazelight is known for its commitment to cooperative gameplay, and Split Fiction takes this philosophy further than ever. Much like It Takes Two, the game constantly introduces new mechanics, ensuring that players are never stuck doing the same thing for too long. One moment, you might be navigating platforming challenge, the next, you're engaged in a side-scrolling sequence or even a shooter-inspired section. Each level has its own unique main mechanic, pretty much like It Takes Two. But Split Fiction takes it up a notch and gives even more gameplay variety to the player on each level. Each level is totally different. At its core, Split Fiction thrives on asymmetrical cooperation. Each player is often given unique abilities that are essential for the other to progress. This forces constant communication and collaboration, making every level feel like a puzzle that can only be solved through teamwork. This design keeps the game fresh from start to finish. And if you're expecting a short adventure, think again. Split Fiction is bigger than you might anticipate, stretching well beyond the 9 or 10 hour mark that many assumed it would hit. Or at least I did. You can expect way beyond that, like 14 to 15 hours maybe. While the main story levels are filled with engaging mechanics, some of the most memorable moments in Split Fiction come from its side stories. Throughout the game, players can find idea bubbles, let's call it like that, which are small creative bursts that act as mini levels. These short but incredible inventive sequences often contain some of the game's most enjoyable mechanics, ranging from transforming into farm animals to flying ways that will feel familiar to Harry Potter fans. You do remember those Quidditch rings that you have to fly through. So yeah, it's kinda like that. These moments serve as a reminder that Split Fiction isn't just about progressing through a linear story, it's about embracing the creativity that Hazelight pours into every detail of its games. One of the biggest evolutions in Split Fiction compared to It Takes Two comes in how players can access the game. Like its predecessor, only one player needs to own the game to invite a friend via the friend's pass. But this time, Hazelight takes it a step further. The game now supports full crossplay. This means a player on PlayStation can invite a friend on Xbox or PC, removing yet another barrier to experiencing this game the way it was meant to be played. In an era where cross-platform co-op should be standard but still isn't, Split Fiction sets an example that more studios should follow. And don't say yeah, I'm telling you this, but it even makes the games cheaper for someone to experience it. You can split the price with the friend you're planning on playing with. Let's be honest, what Hazelight is doing is full fan service. The game is only €50, which is a surprising value compared to the general prices of today. Split that in half with a friend, and each of you pays €25 only. Let me tell you, it's an absolute bargain for the amount of content and fun you are receiving. So, where does Split Fiction stand among the greatest co-op games of all time? Well, if we are talking about emotional storytelling, It Takes Two still has the upper hand. It masterfully blends gameplay with heartfelt moments in a way that Split Fiction doesn't quite match. But when it comes to pure gameplay variety, Split Fiction might actually be the best we have ever seen. Now, think about Portal 2 co-op mode. The game had some of the smartest puzzles in gaming history, but it was all about solving challenges in one specific way, because you have the portals and that's the only way to progress. Split Fiction, on the other hand, keeps changing the rules. One moment is a platformer, the next is a shooter, and then you're suddenly in a side-scroller. I mean, it never lets you get too comfortable, and that makes the experience feel fresh from start to finish. And what about Overcooked? That game is pure, chaotic teamwork, where the challenge comes from managing stress under pressure. Split Fiction doesn't have that same level of chaos, but it forces communication in a different way. By giving each player totally different abilities and mechanics in every level, you need to constantly rely on each other to progress. And then there's A Way Out, another Hazelight game which focused on narrative-driven co-op with real consequences. If you're looking for that kind of deep storytelling, Split Fiction won't hit as hard. But if you want the most mechanically creative co-op game yet, this is definitely the new champion. Where Split Fiction truly excels is in its sheer variety. While it may not match It Takes Two in emotional depth, it keeps the gameplay experience fresh at every turn, making it arguably the most gameplay diverse co-op game ever created. So, is Split Fiction the ultimate co-op experience? If you are looking for pure, creative and unpredictable co-op gameplay, this might just be better than It Takes Two. If you love constantly changing mechanics, this game never stops surprising you. And if you're hoping for a deep, interconnected story, it doesn't quite hit the same emotional highs. One thing is undeniable. Hazelight has once again proven that gameplay is king. With Split Fiction, they deliver an experience that is not just fun, but a celebration of what co-op gaming should be. If you have someone to play with, this is a game you don't want to miss. Now the real question is Split Fiction the best co-op game of all time, or does another game still hold that title? Let's discuss that in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.